What is the best thing you have ever eaten? A burger? A pizza? A basilisk? Why is it even on our worst days food can make us happy? Well, the answer may lie in the depths of Delicious in Dungeon. Because if this anime teaches us anything, is that you don't need dragons, or gold, or an ancient castle to find joy. You just need a hearty meal, some strange friends, and a strong stomach. Preferably all three. Now, normally on here I talk about depressing ideas, but I thought I would change it up today. Turn some of those frowns upside down. Delicious in Dungeon or Dungeon Meshi looks like your standard fantasy adventure. But here's the twist. Instead of slaying monsters for loot, they cook them. It's like if Dungeons and Dragons met MasterChef and the prize was mild food poisoning, or hallucinations, or dying. But underneath the cooking jokes and monster recipes, this show hides something beautiful. It's not really about survival or even food. It's about finding joy in the ordinary. It's about how even in the darkest, weirdest parts of our lives, there's a beauty in the small things, a shared meal, a perfect assortment of a mimic picnic. To those who have not somehow seen one of the best fantasy shows to come out in recent times, saving us from all that dreadful isekai slop, Dungeon Meshi follows a group of adventurers who venture into a dungeon to rescue their companion Farlan, who's been eaten by a dragon. Short on time and resources, the party leader makes an unusual decision. Instead of carrying supplies, they'll survive by cooking and eating the monsters they defeat along the way. Led by the endlessly curious Laios and joined by the calm survival-focused dwarf Senshi, the group turns each floor of the dungeon into an improvised buffet. What begins as a practical solution quickly becomes a way to explore the dungeon's ecosystem, the characters' relationships, and the strange normalcy of life inside a place built for death. While it's framed as a light-hearted fantasy about monster cooking, to me, Dungeon Meshi explores something else. It explores how even as we chase the next big thing, sometimes we have to slow down and enjoy the small things in life. There's almost something meditative about the way Dungeon Meshi treats the mundane. Every meal is treated with the kind of reverence most anime save for boss fights or emotional confessions. When Senshi slices ingredients, it's shot like an action scene. When he stirs a pot, it's animated like a ritual. It's food as a philosophical statement, a belief that even the smallest act can hold meaning if you give it your utter devotion, like how the small act of subscribing would mean the world to me. And that's what makes Senshi such a fascinating character. He's basically a bearded philosopher disguised as a chef. While everyone else is worrying about monsters and missions, Senshi's out here saying things like, "We must respect the ingredients." This man could turn washing lettuce into a spiritual awakening, like, "By washing the leaves of the lettuce is how you wash away your sins," or something like that. He's calm when everyone else is panicking, thoughtful when things go wrong. He's the kind of guy that can find peace while sauteing some slime and somehow make it look profound. Senshi isn't just cooking food, he's teaching the others and us to slow down, to appreciate the process, not just the outcome. And honestly, that's a lesson a lot of us need, because modern life is kind of like a dungeon run. You rush through, chasing the next objective, fighting off deadlines and the dreaded stress monsters, and forgetting to actually enjoy any of it. So be like Senshi. Slow down and savor the moment. Now let's talk about our favourite dungeon crawling trio. Firstly, there's Marcille, the elf who's basically all of us on a bad day, or some of us even on a good day. She's anxious, perfectionistic, and constantly horrified by the unsanitary state of everything. Every time she yells, "You can't eat that," I feel it in my soul because God knows I wouldn't eat whatever the this thing is. Marcille is a part of us that resists slowing down. The part that wants everything to be clean, perfect, and predictable. However, even our prim and proper genius of magic school gives in and ends up eating the monster food. And without fail, her tune changes. She can't resist shouting "delicious!" and ends up loving it. Ultimately, life, like cooking, is never clean. It's messy, and sometimes you have to take a bite and hope for the best. As a foil to Marcille's perfected imperfections, we have Chilchuck. Compared to the others in the trio, he's the most mature. He's guarded, shrewd, and serious. A stark contrast to the whimsy of the others. In a sense, he's the most realistic of the group. Being the oldest, he's been through it all. Childhood, marriage, separation. He's seen the ups and downs. In a sense, he has lost his wonder in the world due to life. However, even though he has been beaten down by life, he still adventures. He still eats. He can still crack a smile and reclaim those lost whimsies. It just shows, no matter how bad it may get, sometimes doing the small thing is enough to crack the now hardened exterior of monotony. I mean, it does only take one strike to crack a shell. And finally, Laios, our cheerful, monster-obsessed leader, is the opposite. He finds genuine wonder in the world. When he looks at a monster, he doesn't see a threat. He sees potential, curiosity, opportunity. That childlike fascination, that ability to see beauty in what others dismiss as gross or trivial, is what makes him special. He reminds us that joy doesn't have to come from something grand. It can come from a slime that jiggles in an oddly satisfying way, or that mild smell from mushroom feet. I know some of you into feet, don't lie. Sometimes we need to revert to our childlike imagination, because wasn't that the last time we were truly free from the anxiety pothole-filled roads of life? Although even the stoic Laios can sometimes fall victims to rushing through things, but we can give him a pass because he's trying to rescue his sister from being digested. But he also knows how to decelerate. We're all like Laios, sometimes hungry to accomplish a goal, forgetting to taste the journey itself. So, take a breather. Life, as they say, is a marathon, not a sprint. Remember to spend a few extra seconds to enjoy the little things. That's the quiet magic of this series. It transforms the mundane into the meaningful. It doesn't ask us to escape reality, it invites us to savor it. To find joy in the little rituals of cooking and eating and sharing and laughing. To see that ordinary doesn't mean unimportant. That the collection of small happinesses can equate to that of accomplishing a big goal. Take for example the scene when they cook a literal dragon, and it's played completely straight, no mocking, no irony. They talk about flavour and texture, and even compare it to other monsters they have eaten, as if this is the most natural thing in the world. And that's the beauty of it. By taking something so absurd and out there and treating it sincerely, the show reminds us that joy comes from how we look at things, not what those things are. Even in the grimmest moments, when they're hungry, tired, or basically dead, the group finds comfort in food and companionship. They make jokes, they share stories, they keep going. Because that's what life is. It's not an endless chain of epic victories, it's a messy, half-burnt stew shared with people who make the struggle bearable. And maybe that's the point. Maybe joy isn't found at the end of the adventure, when the dragon's slain and the credits roll and you get that crappy paycheck. Maybe it's found somewhere in the middle, between the bites, between the laughs, between the failures. It's not something you discover, it's something you create. Like cooking, it takes patience, curiosity, and a willingness to make a mess. Dungeon Meshi at its core is a love letter to the small joys we often overlook. It tells us that even in a place like a dungeon or that crappy office you work in, a place designed for danger, fear, and darkness, there's light, there's warmth, there's the smell of something cooking that makes everyone stop and smile just for a second. For example, close your eyes. Imagine you've had a long, stressful day and you get home, and the first thing you sense is the aroma of cooking. Think about how that makes you feel. Comfort, safety, home. It's a small respite for enjoying the day. It's enough to bring you a little bit of joy when you need it most. And honestly, that's kind of deep. Because if these characters can find joy while eating basilisks and slimes, then maybe we can find it in our own daily chaos too. Maybe joy isn't about having a perfect life or even a comfortable one. Maybe it's about learning to see beauty in the cracks, to appreciate the flavour of the imperfect, the humour in the awful, and the warmth in the ordinary. So yeah, Dungeon Meshi might look like a goofy fantasy about eating monsters, but really, it's about life, about enjoying every moment, even the weird, slimy, or simply inconvenient ones. It's about realising that even when everything feels repetitive or meaningless, there's always something worth appreciating. So next time you're staring at your boring lunch, or stuck in another long commute, or washing dishes for the 1000th time, channel your inner Senshi. Take a breath. Feel the moment. Because joy doesn't hide in the grand adventure. It hides in the grilled cheese you almost burnt but ultimately didn't. In the laugh you share with a friend. In the warmth of something small. Something fleeting. Something human. Maybe the real treasure isn't a dragon's gold at the end of the dungeon. Maybe it's just a well-cooked meal and the people you share it with. So, eat the weird stuff. Find the joy. And remember, life's a lot more delicious when you slow down to taste it.